book of Hebrews 11. Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11. I'm going to talk from, I'm going to share from verses 1 till verse actually 31, but I'm not going to spend too much of my time detailing all of it. But basically this chapter talks about faith and the great people and the examples of faith. And this morning I want to talk about your faith, your life. It's your faith, it's your life. And so if we don't exercise the faith that we are supposed to exercise for our life, please don't expect somebody else to exercise it for you. Now, I need to make mention of a few circumstances and situations where we see in the Bible that other people exercised their faith for someone else. Like, for example, the guys who lowered the paralytic man from the roof to Jesus, right? The Bible says that paralyzed man didn't have any faith. But the people who lowered him had the faith for that man, and God healed that man. So there are circumstances and situations, not very many, that God has honored other people's faith for someone else. God does do that. But primarily, your faith is your life. Okay? You have a responsibility to exercise and nurture and grow and see fruits of your faith. And if you don't take that responsibility upon yourself, then first of all, you're not going to understand the goodness of God. You're not going to see miracles of God. You're not going to see the faithfulness of God. You're not going to see the excitement of your own life. And you're not going to be able to grow in your spirituality if you don't exercise your faith for your life. Okay? Now, I've also heard a lot of people say, oh, I don't have faith. I have firmly believed from the beginning till today that we all have faith. We all have faith. What levels of faith? That's another story. We do have different levels of faith, but we all have faith. It's like you saying, I don't have love in me. It's like you saying, I don't have kindness in me, or I don't have gentleness in me. Who can ever say that? Which human being can ever say, I don't have any of these stuff? God has put all of this in everybody. We all have all of this, because when God created us, He created us all with the same DNA, with all of these things in us. Now, when we say we don't have these things, we're basically telling ourselves we didn't realize we have these things. God has put talent in everybody. He's put gifts. He's put all of these things in people. If you've not seen it in your life, it means you've not exercised it to see it and experience it. It doesn't mean you don't have it. It means you do have it. You've just not seen it because you didn't put to practice what you have. Right? So, we all have faith. We all have faith. And that's the reason why, very, very beautifully, Jesus, to help people who think they don't have faith, listen to me. Because God knows some of us think we don't have faith, He goes to the extent of saying, even if you have mustard seed size faith, you can move the mountains. Why did Jesus ever give that example? Have you realized that? He never said if you have cup size or saucer size. He never said if you have cauliflower size. He never said if you have apple size or even gooseberry size. He says you have mustard seed size. You know what Jesus meant by that? He meant, even if you think you don't have faith, I'm telling you, you do have faith at least of a mustard seed. So, if you say I don't have faith, you're actually saying Jesus is a liar. So if you think you don't have faith, I'm telling you, you at least have mustard seed faith. And if you're thinking, oh, what will I do with the mustard seed faith? The Bible talks about mustard seed faith. It doesn't talk about giant seed faith. It talks only about mustard seed faith. So your mustard seed faith is more than enough for you to move what? A mountain. Not auto rickshaw. Not bike and car. It says with a mustard seed you can move a mountain. Now if with a mustard seed you can move a mountain, what if you have a cauliflower size seed? What you'll be able to move? What if you have car size faith? What else can you move? You understand? I'm trying to help you understand. If mustard seed can move a mountain, imagine all the other size faith, what it can do. Okay? And so let's understand what God is trying to help us understand in Hebrews chapter 11. It says, faith is the confidence that what we hope for will actually happen. It gives us assurance about things we cannot see. Now please understand. Mustard seed kadugun சொல்லுவாங்கல்ல. நாங்க என்ன பார்க்கணும், ஆண்டவர் சொல்றாரு, ஒரு கடுகு விசுவாசம் இருந்தா மலையை நீங்க ஆட்டலாம், மலையை நீங்க மூவ் பண்ணலாம். ஸோ இந்த ஹீப்ரூஸ் சாப்டர் எப்ரூர் 11 அதிகாரத்தில் விசுவாசத்தை பற்றி பேசுது. நிறைய பேர் எந்தெந்த விசுவாசத்தில் அவங்க ஆண்டரை பின்பற்றி ஆண்டர்கிட்ட எத்தனை ஆசீர்வாதங்கள் வாங்கியிருக்காங்கன்னு போட்டிருக்கு. ஸோ இட் சேஸ் faith is the confidence that what we hope for will actually happen. Have you at any given point of time heard people or said it by yourself, I hope I can do this, I hope I can go there, I hope I can have this? Have you said that at any point of time? I think 100 times we say that probably in a month. I hope, I hope, I hope. The Bible is talking about hope here. Hope is a very spiritual word, by the way, just in case you thought hope was not a good enough word. It says faith is the confidence. So first of all, to have faith, you need to have confidence. If you don't have confidence, so let's back up a little bit. Many people say they get scared with spiritual words. So it's a word like faith. People say, I don't have faith, brother. So if you tell somebody, go and pray for the sick, have faith, God will heal. No, I don't have faith, brother. You go pray, they'll say. Have you heard people say that? Well, let me help you understand what the Bible explains about faith. Faith is not a scary word. It's a very ordinary word. So what are the ingredients of faith? The first ingredient of faith is you have to be confident. It's just confidence. It starts with confidence. If you're learning to ride a cycle or learning to drive a car or learning to do something, you have to have confidence. What person will go and sit on a cycle without confidence? So you see, we do have confidence when it comes to learning a cycle or driving a car or doing something for the first time. We do have confidence. So that means there is the ingredient of faith in us in the form of confidence. But we're just using it for certain things that we like and not using it for the things that we are supposed to use it for. So it says faith is the confidence that what we hope for. So the first word, the first ordinary word here is confidence. The second ordinary word here is hope. So don't get mesmerized by the word faith. It's a very simple word. The word faith has very simple words in it. The first being confidence, the second being faith is the confidence that what you hope for will actually happen. When will it happen? When you have confidence and when you hope for it. So to even exercise faith, if you don't start off with the confidence and the hope, and if you keep praying, there are a lot of people who keep praying for faith, they will never get faith. You know why? Because they don't have the confidence and the hope. They are so negative. They don't have confidence, they don't have hope, but they know to pray for faith. How do you pray for faith when you don't have confidence and hope? What faith will you get without confidence and hope? The Bible is clearly saying it's the confidence of the things that you hope for that will happen. So please understand, don't get scared with the word faith. Understand the word confidence and understand the word hope, because these are the words that make up faith. It says hope for will actually happen. It will happen when you have confidence and when you hope for it. I can't tell you how many stories in my life where I didn't understand faith, but I knew confidence and hope. I didn't know what was faith. I was like you. Even today, I'm being very honest. I don't have the faith that you think I have. I don't have. I do have confidence. I do have hope. I've run my life, my family, my business, my ministry, my social work. I've run it all with confidence and hope. And now I'm understanding that's nothing but faith. You know, many times people have come to me and said, Godfrey, can you do this? You know what I've decided in life as a policy? I will never say no to anything. I will never say no to anything. Even if I've never done it in my life, I will never say yes immediately, but I will also never say no. So when someone comes and asks me to do something that I've never done, no experience whatsoever, I will never say yes and I will never say no. I'll just say, give me 2 days time, I'll get back to you. In the 2 days, miracles happen to me between God and myself. I'll just go back to God and say, God, I've never done this. I don't have any experience, but I want to do this. I have confidence and hope I can do this. What do you say? And guess what God says? That's called faith. Go ahead and do it. You have the confidence? You have the hope? I'll put the faith. You see, God can only put something when you put something. I hope you understand that. God will only put something when you put something. Don't put your hand like this and stand like this and say, God give me. That's called fashion show. You can walk the ramp and say, how do I look? Don't go to God like that. He doesn't like fashion show. You take something and you give it to Him. Say, God, I got this. And what do you have? You can't just go to God with nothing and say, give me faith. He'll ask you, what do you have? You saw the little boy who brought the fish and the loaves of bread? You think Jesus could not have fed those 5,000 people without that boy's fish and bread? Do you think He could not have done that? He could have done it like that. He didn't need that boy's food. What was He trying to help the crowd and the people understand? Hey, before I do something, I want you to lay down something. You put the stuff down, I'll put my stuff down. It's a partnership with God. Don't go to God, say, give me faith. He'll ask you, what does that mean? Remember, there's a verse in the Bible that says, faith without action is dead. You know what is action? You know what is action? It means you have to do something. You can't just stand like that. Faith without action is dead. What is the action here? The action is confidence and hope. That's an action. And it says when you do that, you will get to function in faith. And says it will actually happen. It gives us assurance about things we cannot see. You can't see things. But that's what confidence and hope is all about. I've always had tremendous respect for our Catholic friends. I've had tremendous respect for the Catholic people, especially the people, the fathers and nuns and brothers and sisters, all the people who are running schools and hospitals and institutions. I've got the highest level of respect I have for these Catholic people, not even for the Protestant people. I'm being very honest here. You know why I have the highest respect for my Catholic brothers and sisters who are in missions and ministry and social work? Because none of us can come anywhere close to their level of faith. You know what is their level of faith? You want me to explain to you? They will just go to a wilderness, okay? Let's say they'll just go to some forest in Bannerghatta. They will see the forest, they will see all trees, they will not see anything, and they will stand there and they'll envision, engineering college, nice. And they'll just buy 50 acres of land. And they'll keep quiet and they'll pray. They just go buy 50 acres of land, and for the next 5 years they'll be praying. And the 6th year, Bannerghatta will develop into a nice city, and suddenly the 8th year you'll see a college there, and that'll be an engineering college. Do any one of us have that kind of vision and faith? Go to some place I'd see a forest and envision a hospital there? You know what we like? We like to see things and then say we have faith for those things that we see. That's not faith. If you see things and say, I have confidence in this, that's not confidence and faith. That is walking by sight. You know, the Bible says, walk by faith, not by sight. What does it mean to walk by faith and not by sight? When the Bible says walk by faith, not by sight, the Bible is saying you don't have to see things, you have to have the confidence and the hope to believe in something that you can't see, and you will be functioning in faith. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying this morning. I really don't know if you're understanding. But I'm trying to help you understand that if you're on a point of in the point of life right now where we're experiencing something that you can't see, I want you to exercise confidence and hope, because that's going to become faith. There is no faith without confidence and hope. And you don't have to see something, but you have to have the assurance. See what it says here? It says, it gives us assurance about things we can't see. So what do you need? What is the third ordinary word in faith? It is assurance. What's the first word? Confidence. The second word? Hope. The third word? Assurance. If you take these words and practice them in your life, you know what you're functioning on? You're functioning on faith. These are the ingredients of faith. And isn't it nice that God is giving us an opportunity to take this step by step? How many of you don't understand what is confidence? We all understand. How many of you don't understand what is hope? We understand. How many of you don't understand what is assurance? We all understand. But if I ask you, do you understand what is faith? You'll say, I don't know what is faith. Well, this is faith. These are the three elements of faith. So don't get confused with terminologies and words. Understand the meaning behind those words. So it says, it gives us assurance about things we cannot see. Through their faith, now it's explained. Through their faith, the people in days of old earned a good reputation. You want a good reputation? You want a good reputation with God? Exercise confidence, hope, and assurance. God's not looking at you and saying, oh, you're doing great ministry, great reputation, oh, you're planting a church, great reputation. He's not very much interested in that, though that might be nice. You exercise these three words, you've got a good reputation with God. You don't have to preach, you don't have to teach, you don't have to be a pastor, you don't have to be a prophet, you don't have to be a teacher, you don't have to be any of these great things that you think those people are. Have these three words function in your life, you've got a good reputation with God. Isn't that good enough? You don't have anything more than that you need. It says, these people had a good reputation with God. By faith, we understand that the entire universe was formed at God's command. That what we see did not come from anything that can be seen. It was by faith that Abel brought a more acceptable offering to God than Cain did. So now it's starting to tell all these people's names who were functioning by faith. And so when we understand what was their faith functionality, it was basically their confidence, it was basically their hope, it was basically their assurance. They knew what they were doing. It ended up being faith. And it says, Abel's offering gave evidence that he was a righteous man, and God showed his approval of his gifts. Although Abel is long dead, he still speaks to us by his example of faith. Abel is long dead and gone. But we are all understanding, learning, and benefiting from the story of Abel. Abel's gone, but Abel's name is recorded here. And it says, it was by faith that Enoch was taken up to heaven. Verse 5. It was by faith that Enoch was taken up to heaven without dying. Have you imagined that? Have you imagined Enoch being taken up to heaven without dying? I think he was one of the only people in the Bible who was taken up alive. Nobody else? Elijah? Yeah. Elijah also was taken up. So maybe, was it just Elijah and Elijah and Enoch, right? These are the two guys, the only guys who were, while they were alive, taken up to heaven. Well, in the modern centuries that we are in, we've not heard of anybody taken up, but there's this one man of God named Sadhu Sundar Singh, who they believe disappeared. Sadhu Sundar Singh was an amazing man of God, and he just walked and preached. They didn't find his body anywhere. They didn't find him anywhere. They searched and said none of his traces were found, his body or his whereabouts. So they believe Sadhu Sundar Singh was taken up like Enoch and Elijah. It's possible. It's possible. It says, it was by faith that Enoch was taken up to heaven without dying. He disappeared because God took him. For before he was taken up, he was known as a person who pleased God. He was known as a person who pleased God. And it is impossible to please God without faith. Listen, it's giving the example of who Enoch was. He was a person who pleased God. And it's actually connecting that pleasing God with faith. It's saying you cannot please God without faith. So what the Bible is telling about Enoch is Enoch had confidence, Enoch had hope, Enoch had assurance. That's why Enoch was able to please God. And because he pleased God, he was functioning in faith. Isn't that interesting? So sometimes we pray this prayer, right? God, I want to please you. Very common prayer we pray, right? God, I want to please you and please you alone. What does the Bible say about pleasing God? Without faith, you can't please God. So don't pray the prayer of pleasing God if you don't have the faith operating in your life, because I don't know what kind of a prayer that is. That prayer is just probably hitting the tube light and the fan. It's not going anywhere else. So don't pray prayers without understanding what you're praying. So the Bible says Enoch was a man who pleased God. He could not have pleased God without faith. So if you're praying prayers and saying, God, I want to please you, you know what God's asking? Where's your faith? Even to please me, you need faith. So God's not saying you need faith to move mountains, you need faith to raise people from the dead, or need faith to heal cancer. That's not what faith is only meant for. Faith is also meant to please God. So don't think that you need faith to do miracles. No, that's only one part of faith. Even to please God, you need faith. So if you don't have faith, don't even imagine that you can please God. All your prayers are just false prayers. They are not going anywhere because you don't have faith to please God. So it says, it's impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to Him must believe that God exists and that He rewards those who sincerely seek Him. And if you want to believe that God exists and to sincerely seek God, you need faith. How can you believe that God exists if you don't have faith? Some people who call themselves atheists, one of the greatest challenges that they have, or the arguments that they have, they'll say is, the reason why I'm an atheist is because I didn't see God. You show me God, I'll believe in God. One day I was talking to one person, I don't know whether he considers himself an atheist, but anyway, he doesn't believe in God. He said, I didn't see God, bro. Did you see God? You're believing in God. So I asked him, do you believe in Mahatma Gandhi? He said, of course, he's the father of our nation. I asked, did you see him? Did you see Mahatma Gandhi? No, I didn't see him. How dare you believe he's the father of our nation, you nut. Somebody wants to believe Mahatma Gandhi, who they didn't see. But they don't want to believe God, who they didn't see. Isn't that funny? Another question I asked the person, did you see your great-grandfather? No, I didn't see. That means you never had a great-grandfather, I told him. Oh, you're telling like that. Of course you didn't see him, so how can you believe in him? No, I have picture. That picture can be anybody's grandfather showing it as your grandfather. How can you do? You see, we have these very strange, foolish arguments. It says, even to please God, you need faith. And to believe that God exists, you need faith. And in 7 it says, it was by faith that Noah built a large boat to save his family from the flood. He obeyed God. Just imagine Noah. Just imagine Noah and all those people. Every single guy, apart from Noah's family, was laughing at him. They were all laughing at him. Hey, you idiot, you fool, you nutcase, what are you doing? And imagine with all these pressures, the guy is building the ark. What a man of God. You know, maybe today God is telling you, I want you to do this, and somebody is laughing at you. Right? Somebody is laughing at you. It's okay, let anybody laugh at you. Here's the deal. Make sure God doesn't laugh at you. As long as God doesn't laugh at you, keep doing what you're doing. The minute God laughs at you, stop what you're doing. You're in trouble. The minute God laughs at you, you better take it seriously. People laugh at you, it's fine. I remember 9-10 years ago when we bought this land that this building is on. When I came here and saw it, all I saw was goats and pigs and cows and muddy chocolate roads and trees, and there's nothing. Apart from Nirmala's house, there was no other house here. I came and stood here. I knew that this was my place. I said, God, I love this place. I'm not seeing what I'm seeing right now, but I love this place. Right? Bought the place, went back. My kids were a little smaller. I told my kids, we bought a land and maybe one day we'll build a house. And they both laughed at me. You know kids, right? Not a bad way. They're like, there, that place, house. You and mama stay alone there, okay? I said, okay, that's fine, I have no problem. Days went by, years went by, built our house. They love the house now. I don't know why they're not staying in some other house. Still don't know. I still don't have the answer. They can still go take a hostel, stay at the hostel. They've got enough money. They don't need this house. They love the house. You see, sometimes people laugh at you. Sometimes your own family will laugh at you. No offense to my daughters. They didn't see what I was seeing. They were seeing cows and goats and pigs and trees and slush. I was seeing more than that. I was seeing also the cows and goats and pigs and slush, and I was seeing my house in that. Right? But you see, people will laugh at you. People laughed at Noah. Finally, what happened? All those people who laughed at Noah couldn't laugh anymore. Then Noah was laughing at those people. Because Noah had life to laugh, and the people who laughed were dead. They couldn't laugh anymore. You see, sometimes people laugh at you. It's okay, let them laugh. Your turn will come to laugh again at them. That's fine. You can do that. And so it says, by faith Noah built a large boat to save his family from the flood. He obeyed God, who warned him about things that had never happened before. By his faith, Noah condemned the rest of the world, and he received the righteousness that comes by faith. What's the next ordinary word we are seeing here about faith? Obedience. So the first word, confidence, hope, assurance. What was the third word? That was the third word, assurance, right? And approval. No, sorry. Third was confidence, hope, assurance. The fourth was something else we saw. What was it? Pardon? No, please God. The fourth is pleasing God. So confidence, hope, assurance, pleasing God. The fifth word is obeying God. This is part of faith. You can't be disobedient and expect to have faith. You will be a joker. Faith is a very committed, serious word. And it has very, very strong masalas in it. It has strong masalas. If you want the real taste and flavor and the goodness of faith, put in all the masalas. You cannot delete any of these. So the fifth is obedience. It says he obeyed God, who warned him about things that had never happened. Those things never happened. The things that were supposed to happen never happened. But he obeyed God. Now look what Noah did. And this is something that we also have to do. This is a very hard thing. But please understand, this is a very spiritual thing. It says, who warned him about things that had never happened before? By his faith. Listen carefully. It says Noah, by his faith, Noah condemned the rest of the world. What did he do? He condemned the rest of the world, and he received the righteousness that came from faith. So sometimes to receive faith, you need to be able to condemn certain things that are not of God. If you have to condemn something that's not of God, go ahead and condemn it. That's going to get you into your functionality of faith. But it's very difficult for us to condemn, right? Imagine the person who is accusing you is your uncle or your great-grandfather or a well-respected person in your family who, by the way, is also a spiritual person. Let's say there's a very strong Christian person in your family who comes and tells you, hey, this is all rubbish, man. What are you doing this stuff? You know what we're going to say? Oh, this person is a very elderly person, very experienced person, very spiritual person, so he must be right. No, he can be wrong. He can be wrong. You listen to God, you don't listen to people. You listen to God. And if you have to condemn something that is not of God, please don't go around condemning everything that you see. I'm not telling you to do that. That's horrible. Don't do that. It says Noah condemned the rest of the world that didn't see what God was speaking to them. That's why he condemned them, because they didn't believe what he was believing for them. So he had to condemn them. If he didn't condemn them, he would have believed what they were believing and making fun of him. That's what would happen. The very first time when I was asked to come to the US, the very first time I was invited to come to the US, you know what I did? As a very simple, my nature, I went and asked all the guys who went to the US, how did you apply? What was the interview like? What did they ask? And everybody gave me all negative answers and all very, very, very not so good things to hear. I never heard one good thing from anybody. I was so disappointed and I was so broken that I said, if all these guys with such great backgrounds don't get a visa, where am I going to get a visa? I was almost going to give up. And God told me, stop talking to people. I never asked you to go and ask people's opinions. Stop talking to people. Now I am actually understanding what I did. I never realized that many years back. You know what I did? I condemned all these voices of negativity and I started talking to God about how I apply for my visa. By the way, for those of you who understand how to apply for a US visa, it's not a joke. For a guy first time who doesn't know anything, it's not a joke. Now I've been processing hundreds of US visas. It's like water for me, no problem. But I'm talking about in 2007, I had no idea, first of all, what is a visa, forget a US visa. You know what I did? I just neglected and avoided people's conversation. I never met anybody and talked to anybody again. I spoke to God every day. I said, God, tell me what to do. You train me. How do I do this? God said, go to Google, study everything by yourself. I went to Google for 2 months. I did self-study of cases and situations. I learned everything by myself, how to apply. It took me 2 weeks to fill up the form. 2 weeks. I was so scared I was filling up the form because you make a mistake, it's a blunder. I'll fill up the form, I'll save it, I'll come back the next day. Again, I'll fill up the form, I'll save it, I'll come. For 2 weeks, I was filling up a US form that takes me right now 40 minutes to fill up. I fill up the form in 40 minutes right now for people. It took me 2 weeks. But I sat with God. I said, I'm condemning what I hear, God. I sat, studied everything by myself, applied by myself, went alone for the visa. And people are telling me they will shout at you, they don't like pastors, they don't like Christian workers, they will insult you, they will humiliate you. All is all what I heard. I went. I stood there for the interview in Calcutta. I never had anything with me. I had my passport, one invitation letter. People in front of me were having loads of documents. I'm talking about this much in their hand, everybody. Files and documents and papers and this. I was having this passport and this piece of paper like an idiot standing for a US visa. I almost wanted to leave and go out because I didn't want to make myself a fool there. As I'm standing there, suddenly the guy called, Mr. Fernandez. Yes, sir. I go to this counter. And I'm thinking the guy is going to check my documents and my application, then he's going to send me inside for somebody to fire me inside a room. So the guy is talking to me, how are you, Mr. Fernandez? I said, yes, sir. It's all glass. It's all glass. There's no hole. It's all glass. And he's talking to me and I'm going on bending. There's a small hole. I'm bending. Yes, sir. No, sir. And he looks at me and he says, why bending, Mr. Fernandez? Don't do that. I said, no, I'm not sure you can hear me. I can hear you sound and clear. Stand and relax. And he was asking me questions. I was answering him questions. 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, he tells me, have a nice trip in the US. Others get grilled for 20 minutes to 30 minutes. They'll be grilled. 2 minutes. He took my passport, threw it inside and said, have a nice trip in the US, Mr. Fernandez. I said, what's that? Have a nice trip. I'm still not believing that he's granted me my visa. Okay. And then because I did my homework well, it was a Friday, Saturday and Sunday is holiday. I remembered that I can ask for the visa the same day. Says, sir, today's a Friday. I'm coming all the way from Shillong. Is it possible that I get my visa in the afternoon? No problem. Just go to this address. 2 o'clock, your visa will be there. Go collect it and go. I still didn't believe I'm getting my visa. I went back out. I had a tie and all. Took out my tie. I called my wife. I said, Sadhu. She said, what happened? I said, she said, what happened? I said, I don't know. She said, what do you mean you don't know? I said, he said, have a nice trip. She said, I'm still 30 minutes. I'm stuck, bound. And then 2 o'clock I go there. I'm still not believing I got my visa. 2 o'clock I'm going there with the doubt that I've not got my visa. Got my passport, opened it, saw the visa, touched it and rubbed it to believe it. You know, sometimes even when God grants you the miracle, you're still not believing the miracle. I'm telling you my own life stories. Like this, I have another 100. But you know what? I'm trying to help us understand. Sometimes we have to condemn people's voices and their ideologies and even their faith. Or rather, their so-called faith. Do you know everybody confesses they have faith? Did you know that? You meet Tom, Dick and Harry on the road, they all have faith. But it has to fall in line with what God calls faith. It has to fall in line with that. And it says, that's what Noah did. And God, he believed God. Without faith, anyone who wants to come to him must believe. And so it says, Noah built this big, and he condemned the rest of the world, and he received the righteousness that comes from faith. What did he receive as on behalf of faith? The righteousness that comes from faith. I don't want to continue because it talks a lot of people. It says by faith Abraham. It says by faith even Sarah. It says by faith people believed what God had promised. It says by faith Abraham offered. Then it says Isaac by faith. It says Jacob by faith. It says Joseph by faith. It says Moses by faith. It says all of these people. It gives all of these people by faith, by faith, by faith, by faith. What is faith? Do you know all of these people were like you and me? They're all like you and me. None of these people were even pastors. None of these people were prophets. None of them were Bible teachers. None of them were scholars. None of them were experienced great prophets. None. They were all just farmers and shepherds and ordinary people. Not even as educated as you and me. They were not even half educated as you and me. With half of what we have, they believed God 100%. With half of what we have, they believe God 100%. You and me have education, we have technology, we have skills, we have capacity, we have influence. What are we doing with all this? What are we doing with all this? We should be having faith not of mustard seeds. We should be having faith as probably road rollers. Because of the education and the talent and the great influences we have. But these people of old, it says they lived their life by faith. Having nothing that we have, but having everything that God wanted them to have. Isn't it amazing? What's the bottom line? What's the learning for today? It's very simple. We can have everything in life and have none of God. We can have our technology, we can have our education, we can have our experience, we can have all the great influences, we can know the president and the MLA and the chief minister and the prime minister and all these people who we think are going to help our lives. And they're going to look at you and saying, nice knowing you, I'm busy, I'm sorry. And shamelessly, finally who we go to? We go back to God. We shamelessly go back to God. And God, without any shame or without any hesitation, never looks at us and says, hey, in the first place you could have come to me, now. Because you didn't come to me in the first place, go to your father-in-law and ask him for money now. Go to your uncle. He paid everything for you now. Go to him. He's got more money. Go. God can say that, right? But what does he do? That's what we see in the prodigal son story. He's standing at the gate with open arms and saying, come my son, come my daughter. I knew you're going to screw up 1 month back. But while you're screwing up, I was screwing in to bring you back to me. Come. Don't waste time. Bunny, bega bunny. Come. Fast, don't waste time. Don't walk, run and come. Because if you walk, somebody will take you while you're walking. Run. That's the loving arms of the Father who we have. He will never condemn us, never blame us, never make fun of us, never criticize us, never judge us. Always willing to welcome us, just like as if we are coming to him for the first time. Just like how we're coming to him for the first time. Here's what I want us to do. Don't waste your time with people, please. No offense to people, no offense to our family, no offense to people who help us, no offense to well-wishers, no offense to parents, no offense to anybody. But please, don't offend God. Please don't offend God with our behavior, our attitude, our intention, our motives. Don't insult God. He's the last person you want to insult. He's the last person you want to mess around with. Instead of wasting your time going to people, please run to God. The first person is run to God. The last person is run to God. The first person, run to God. The last person, run to God. God will make things happen. God uses people. I know that. He uses everything. Everything he uses. And one of them is people. But you don't go to people and say, help me. Go to God and say, help me. Because he is the initiator of life. He's the giver of things. He can make things even when you don't see them. And he can create things that doesn't even exist. That's who God is. And if you want faith, learn to be confident. Learn to have assurance. Learn to have hope. Learn to be responsible. Learn to believe God. Learn to obey God. Learn to please God. These are the things only that will make you function in the word called faith. If I were to end today's message, I would say faith is the virtual word of the real words of what we just spoke about. Faith is just a virtual word. There is no word as faith. But the real words of that virtual word is what the Bible spoke about. Assurance, hope, confidence, trust, believing. Absolutely obeying. Then you're in the functionality of faith. Your faith, your life. Don't look to anybody else. They're not going to come and function for faith on your behalf. You figure out your life because your faith is your life. Let's all stand.